The corridor wasn't quiet because people respected her. It was quiet because nobody expected her to hold her ground. They'd cornered her casually, two Navy SEALs who thought the woman standing between them wasn't a threat, just a technician, just a clipboard, just someone they could test. So when they rushed from both sides, when they reached for her with hands that thought they'd never be stopped, like two men convinced that control came from closing space fast and hitting first. And for 1 second they almost had her surrounded, but it was a big mistake because she moved. She didn't flinch, didn't brace, didn't speak more than one line. She just folded them, one into the wall, the other into the floor so fast that by the time anyone else turned the corner, it was already over. Before we show you exactly what happened when those SEALs made the mistake of thinking silence meant weakness, and the moment she dropped both before anyone even blinked, drop a comment telling us where in the world you're watching from. Then tap like, hit subscribe to Military Stories, and turn on the bell icon. Because today's story isn't about how she won, it's about how calmly she let them lose. The fog hadn't lifted yet. It was barely 0610 at the southeastern sector of Camp Trident, a tucked-away joint maritime facility used more for quiet integration blocks than headline-making exercises. Most of the base wasn't even at full light-up yet. Half the footpaths were still dark. The only noise came from utility carts dragging across the gravel and the clipped footsteps of early risers moving through morning tasking. But on Deck 4A, one of the transitional lanes near the emergency comm structure, someone was already walking with purpose. Her name was Lieutenant Junior Grade Mara Fenwick. She wasn't dressed like anyone who wanted attention. Light fatigue blouse tucked tight at the elbows, black ball cap, no unit patch, no visible rank, just a slate gray satchel secured tight across her frame, and boots that didn't make a sound unless she wanted them to. She was 36, marine logistics background, and temporarily embedded with the SEAL operations team for a comms diagnostics retrofit, a week-long sweep of internal choke points in the facility's encrypted relay architecture. Not glamorous work, not mission-critical, just a high-trust, low-profile assignment that required experience no one here had time to learn on their own. She'd been quiet since arrival, didn't talk much, didn't joke, didn't over-introduce herself at the chow hole. To most of the men posted at Camp Trident, especially the Tier 1 operators, she read more like a contractor than a warfighter. And that was fine with her. Mara wasn't here to teach, wasn't here to compete. She had already seen her share of dirt, blood, and metal. 3 deployments with a recon sustainment battalion, including one that ended with 2 months off-grid in northeast Algeria tracking a collapsed SAT-burst relay. She hadn't requested this embed, but when Comms Command asked if she'd step in, she didn't ask why. She just showed up. The internal brief had assigned her transitional zone access for uplink diagnostics, corridors most people didn't linger in, especially not this early, which is why when she turned down the narrow L-shaped passageway beside Storage 2B, she didn't expect to see anyone at all. She tapped the panel on the wall, checking uplink sync. 2 green lights, 1 flicker. She unfastened the satchel, pulled out a tool sheet, and knelt beside the panel casing to open the relay box. No sound yet, just mechanical clicks, just routine. Then a footstep echoed. Mara paused, looked up. 2 figures rounded the bend behind her. One was already smirking, the other hadn't blinked yet. They weren't supposed to be here. This lane wasn't active until 0800, but she didn't say anything. She just stood, slow, unbothered, and made a mental note to finish the casing reset before requesting a corridor clearance flag. She wasn't concerned. Not yet. They hadn't spoken, hadn't touched her. Not yet. But when they slowed, when they stopped walking and didn't say why, that's when Mara knew she was alone in a space that had too many exits and no eyes but hers. And now she wasn't moving forward, not because she couldn't, but because movement would let them set the terms. So she waited and watched as the routine morning she hadn't thought twice about quietly reassembled itself into something else. Mara didn't move at first, neither did they. The taller one stood closest, broad-chested, arms folded, the kind of posture that filled a hallway even without trying. His name tag wasn't visible, but she didn't need to see it. She'd seen the type before. The way he braced his boots, the way his chin never tilted unless he wanted it to. This was someone who was used to owning physical space, not by rank, but by presence. The second was leaner, younger, slightly behind, slightly to the left, talking more than he should have been. "Didn't think this sector was live yet," the younger one said, voice casual, but pitched just high enough to bounce off the walls. "You working solo?" Mara didn't respond immediately, just clipped the flap of her tool sheath closed and stood upright. Her expression didn't shift. No smile, no frown, just neutral. "I've got clearance for uplink diagnostics," she said. "Relay 2B was flagged on last sync pass." The younger SEAL whistled, low, mock impressed. "She talks," he said. "We were starting to wonder if you were even real." His partner didn't say a word. He just shifted his stance half a step closer. Not threatening, just present. Mara kept her body squared toward the panel. Side eye only, minimal movement. They weren't breaking protocol, not technically, but they weren't following it either. "Long week?" she asked calmly, neutral as static. The younger one grinned. "Not long enough. But hey, you're not logistics, right? You're like signal something. Comms systems integrity." "Right." His eyes skimmed down toward her satchel. "So what happens if I pull that gear off your belt and start pressing buttons? We all go dark?" Mara didn't respond because that wasn't a question. It was a test. She'd seen that grin before, on forward bases when adrenaline gets bored, on exfil lines when someone decides you're taking up too much space in the truck. It wasn't about her job. It wasn't even about her. It was about the fact that she wasn't reacting. The taller one finally spoke, low voice, controlled, no edge, just the kind of tone that expected you to yield out of instinct. "You should head back to the main corridor. They're prepping breach sims on this end. You're not going to want to be here in 5 minutes." There were no breach simulations scheduled. She knew it. They knew it. But she also knew this space didn't have live camera coverage, no audio, just a junction hallway with poor angles and bad accountability. It was designed for practical routing, not oversight. She took one step back toward the relay panel, not toward them. "Appreciate the warning," she said. She wasn't flinching. She wasn't defiant either, but she wasn't leaving. The younger one let out a soft chuckle. "Look at that, she's got guts." The older one just stood still, eyes narrowed, chest squared, watching. Mara didn't return his gaze. Not yet, but inside her mind something had already clicked. This wasn't a misunderstanding. They weren't trying to intimidate her by accident. They were deciding whether or not they could do it without consequence. And that wasn't a matter of protocol, it was a matter of physics. The only thing she didn't know yet was how far they were willing to go. Mara didn't take a step forward. She didn't take a step back either. Instead, she repositioned her boots slightly, just enough to square her footing against the narrow corridor wall, just enough to make turning her back an inefficient option. Neither man noticed the detail. They were too focused on reading her silence like submission. The younger one leaned his shoulder against the wall now, arms crossed, one boot angled out like he had nowhere to be. His eyes didn't leave her satchel. "Relax," he said. "You act like we're the threat." Still, she said nothing. The taller one was slower to move, but more deliberate. He didn't speak again. He didn't have to. His half-step forward was all the statement he needed. Not enough to close space, just enough to say, "You won't move unless I let you." Mara's gaze flicked once toward the junction behind them. Narrow, no visual contact, no direct line to active patrols. "Why are you here?" she asked, level tone. Not accusatory, not defiant, just procedural. "You always ask questions before saying good morning?" The younger one fired back, still grinning. She ignored it. "Deck 4A's flagged low traffic until 0830, she continued. "You've got nothing scheduled this end." The taller one finally looked toward her tool sheet, not to read it, just to make her notice him noticing her. "You think you own this hallway because you brought a clipboard?" Mara tilted her chin slightly. Still neutral, still controlled. "No, but I do own the relay you're standing in front of, and I need access to the panel behind your leg." For a brief second there was quiet, but it didn't last. The younger one shifted his weight, stepped to the side, and mirrored her stance. He was now flanking her left, not close enough to breach contact, but too close to ignore. She saw it and adjusted. Shoulders square, weight balanced, one palm resting lightly against her hip, not threatening, just placed. "You think we're trying to block you?" he asked, smiling too wide. Mara replied, not with a challenge, but with dry precision. "I think you're testing response latency. I've clocked both of your angles. I've logged the distance to the emergency panel behind me. I've mapped 5 exit paths and calculated 3 ways this becomes a reportable incident." He blinked. The taller one didn't react, but she saw it then, just a flicker of confusion. They hadn't expected assessment, they'd expected nervousness, and the fact that she hadn't given it to them, that's what unsettled them most. Still, she didn't move because she knew something they didn't. That silence, when calculated correctly, is louder than a threat. Mara felt the shift before it registered in motion. It started with posture, how the younger one's shoulder drifted forward just slightly, cutting off her side path like it was muscle memory. Not deliberate, not coordinated, just instinct. The kind that says, "I control this space now." Then the older one moved. Not much, half a step maybe, but it was enough to cover the angle behind her, enough to close the back. A triangle now formed around her like it wasn't meant to trap, but couldn't help it either. She exhaled once through her nose, quiet, grounding. Then came the contact. The younger man bumped her shoulder to shoulder. Not hard, more dismissive than forceful. Like the kind of nudge you give someone who's in your way at a bar and too polite to push back. She didn't react, just recalibrated her balance. Boot to heel, spine upright, vision level. But that stillness, they took it as license. The next moment, one of them brushed her belt loop fast. Not a grab, just a graze. His fingers tapped the edge of her radio tether, a move so fast and so subtle it would vanish on replay. "Light kit," the younger one muttered. "You travel lean, huh?" Still, she said nothing, but she turned just slightly, just enough to set both men in her periphery. "Remove your hand from my equipment," she said, flat, procedural, like reporting rainfall. The younger one clicked his tongue. "Relax," he said. "You act like that's off limits." "It is." She didn't change tone, didn't blink. "You're not authorized to interfere with technical loadout." The older one watched her carefully now. No words, but the smirk was gone. Something in her voice, its precision maybe, cut deeper than any threat could have, like she wasn't talking to peers, like she was reading from a field manual and expected them to comply. The younger one laughed too loud, too sudden. "Oh, you've got manuals now?" he said, eyes wide, mocking, credulous. Didn't know clipboards came with teeth. He took a half step around her again, reforming the triangle, this time closer. This wasn't mischief anymore. It wasn't teasing. It was a posture test, and they were banking on her failing it. Mara didn't reach for her radio, didn't lift her hands, but she shifted again, rebalancing her frame, stepping half back into the dead space of the corridor center. She watched both their shadows move on the wall. Their pacing was off by just enough. And then they positioned themselves again, one on each side, equal distance. Not planned, just predatory reflex. And Mara felt the temperature drop. Not because it was cold, but because she knew exactly what that spacing meant. 2 men, close range, same direction of force. They weren't toying anymore. They were preparing. And the worst part, they didn't even realize it yet. It happened without warning. No shouted threat, no countdown, no signal anyone could later argue about. The younger one moved first. His hand came up fast, grabbing Mara's forearm just above the wrist, fingers closing with enough pressure to turn her, not to restrain her fully. Not yet, just to spin her off balance and see what happened next. At the exact same moment, the taller one stepped in from the opposite side, too clean, too synchronized to be coincidence. That was the moment it crossed. Not because of pain, not because of fear, but because intent had finally become physical. Mara absorbed the contact without resistance, let her arm move just enough to keep her shoulder from locking, let her weight dip half an inch to prevent a torque injury. Her breathing didn't change, no gasp, no reaction noise, just adjustment. She didn't pull away, she didn't strike, she didn't shout. She let the motion complete, then stopped it. Her eyes lifted calmly, tracking both men in the same frame for the first time. "This interaction is no longer consensual," she said. Her voice was quiet, measured,
almost bored, but it landed. The younger one froze just for a fraction of a second, confused by the wording. The taller one tightened his jaw. Too late. Mara shifted her weight forward, stepping into the grab instead of away from it. The movement broke the leverage instantly. Her elbow slid down and across the younger man's grip, not striking, just aligning. His fingers loosened reflexively. That was all the opening she needed, but she didn't take it yet. She looked at the taller one, held his gaze. "You've crossed into live response," she said. No threat, no warning tone, just a statement of status.
The corridor went quiet. The men didn't back off. They didn't apologize. They didn't let go. Instead, they did exactly what men like them always did when confronted with calm authority. They didn't respect. They committed both at once. And in that instant, when two bodies moved toward her from opposite sides, Mara Fenwick stopped de-escalating. They moved in unison, not with training, not with planning, with instinct. That brute, unconscious drive that takes over when men believe speed and weight alone will end a confrontation. The taller one lunged from her right, the younger from her left. Their timing was almost perfect. Almost. But Mara Fenwick didn't meet them head-on. She let them come, let the forward pressure build. Shoulders squared, arms loose, spine balanced. She let them think they were collapsing space. They weren't. They were handing it to her. The taller one reached for her dominant side, faster, closer, his arm extended for a shoulder grab, but he didn't account for her rotation. Mara pivoted, sharp and low, cutting under the line of his reach while stepping into the center line he'd opened. Her left palm hooked under his elbow, her right forearm pressed against his thigh. She didn't lift, didn't throw. She redirected. One smooth hip turn, one planted boot, and his own momentum carried him sideways into the wall. He didn't fall. He slammed back first into the concrete, his spine flattened and his balance gone before he could even react. And then the younger one was there, too close now. His lunge had been delayed just enough by confusion, by instinct, by the assumption that Mara would still be recovering from the first engagement. She wasn't. She turned with him, not away, not into, but beside. Her body twisted low, slipping outside his reach. One hand gripped his wrist, the other snapped upward, palm to jawline, forcing his chin off angle. The torque created a half-second spiral through his frame. He tried to counter by turning, and that's when her knee came up. It struck square into the soft muscle behind his planted leg. He dropped. Not hard, not violently, just completely. He crumpled like a hinge folding backward, landing flat on his shoulder blade with a grunt that stopped just short of breathless. No broken bones, not yet, just elimination of threat. But the taller one wasn't down, not fully. He shoved off the wall with a growl, head lowered like a lineman charging a block. Mara didn't wait. She met his movement at an angle, precise, surgical. Her hand slid up behind his neck, redirected his forward momentum, and brought his balance line just half a step forward of his center. Then she dropped hard, one knee to the ground, one heel kicked backward into the side of his boot, his leg bent sideways. Pop! The groan that followed wasn't loud. It was wet, half gasp, half swallow. He dropped with one arm catching against the wall, the other clutching at his thigh. The sound echoed, and suddenly that corridor wasn't empty anymore. Two SEALs rounded the far corner on patrol. Both stopped cold. They didn't speak, didn't draw weapons. They just stared. Mara was standing in the same exact place, centered, balanced, unmoving. Two men were on the floor, one gasping through clenched teeth, the other clutching his ribs and blinking hard. And it had all happened before either witness even reached full stride. Mara didn't turn toward them, didn't explain. She just stepped back 2 paces, breathed once through her nose, then looked down calmly at the wreckage they'd forced her to create. 2 men had rushed her. Neither had landed a blow, and somewhere in the hallway behind her, a third SEAL finally whispered, "Jesus Christ." Nobody moved. The SEALs, who had just turned the corner, stood frozen, one halfway through a step, the other mid-breath. Their posture didn't suggest panic, just hesitation, that razor-thin line between instinct and assessment. They saw two men on the ground. They saw Mara Fenwick standing over them, not panting, not braced, not even flushed, just still. One of the downed men, the younger one, tried to rise. He got to one knee, then winced hard and stopped. His breathing was shallow, hands splayed on the floor like he was steadying the whole building. The older one wasn't even trying to get up. His leg was bent in a way that didn't match his frame. He'd gone quiet now, his eyes darting between Mara and the wall like he was still calculating how the momentum flipped.
Mara didn't speak. She didn't need to. She stepped back another pace, giving both men space, then lowered to a squat, knees tight, movements exact, and calmly assessed the taller one's injury. Her hands didn't shake. She didn't flinch when he jerked his knee reflexively. Pain response intact, she said quietly. No visible arterial compromise. Likely medial ligament tear. You'll need stabilization. No emotion, no coldness either, just procedure. Then she stood, turned to the other one, already trying to breathe through the pain in his ribs. His hand hovered over his abdomen like he wasn't sure what he was protecting. "Can you walk?" she asked. He didn't answer. "Then don't," she said, "until someone checks for intercostal damage." She turned slightly, just enough to address the two SEALs still watching. "Notify medical. 2 trauma cases, 1 lower extremity, 1 thoracic. Urgent, not critical." They blinked, then one nodded. Without a word, he lifted his radio and called it in, voice tight, stripped of commentary. Mara stood in place as he spoke. Her arms remained relaxed. Her boots didn't shift. Her gaze didn't scan for witnesses or backup. She didn't assert authority. She didn't posture. She just waited while 2 men who tried to collapse her with synchronized dominance struggled to draw steady breath. One of the SEALs finally stepped closer, eyes darting between the injured and the uninjured. "What happened here?" he asked quietly. Mara didn't look at him. She simply replied, "They initiated contact. I ended it." The other SEAL didn't argue, didn't ask for elaboration. He just glanced down once at the bend in the taller man's knee, at the tremble in the younger one's forearms, then back up at Mara. He didn't salute, didn't nod, but something in his shoulders changed, like recognition, like respect. And neither of the 2 men on the floor said a word because there was nothing left to say.
The inquiry started less than 2 hours later. No base-wide alert, no disciplinary lockdown, just a quiet pull from chain of command, 2 discreet statements from the responding SEALs, and a call made to internal security. By 11, Mara Fenwick was seated in a cooled office near the base's administrative block. Not cuffed, not questioned, just processed. Across from her sat a review officer from Naval Group Oversight. Rank Lieutenant Commander, demeanor flat. He opened a standard incident ledger and began reading from the sheet. 2 injured SEAL personnel, he said. 1 confirmed ligament rupture, 1 suspected intercostal bruising. Witnesses place you as sole responder. Is that accurate? Mara nodded once. Verbal warning issued? Yes. Prior to physical engagement? Yes. Level of force used? Was it necessary? It was reactive, she replied. Momentum-based redirection. I did not initiate primary contact. He typed that down word for word. Did you deploy any unauthorized weapons, tools, or gear? No. He glanced up. And if this hadn't been observed by patrol? Mara answered without pause. The result would be the same. 2 men initiated contact. I responded with calibrated restraint. Had there been cameras, you wouldn't need my statement. There weren't. That was the problem. Deck 4A wasn't on full visual surveillance, deemed low priority, flagged for future upgrade. The only footage recovered came from a hallway downrange, showing blurred motion and the arrival of medics. No audio, no clean angle, just aftermath. But that didn't matter because what they did have was testimony. The 2 SEALs who arrived post-incident had submitted formal reports. No embellishment, no cover, just this. Fenwick gave verbal warning. We observed 2 SEALs incapacitated. No visible trauma to Fenwick. No escalation was initiated by her. By 1500, the medical reports confirmed it. Grade 2 MCL tear, subcostal hematoma with minor air trapping, injuries consistent with defensive redirection, not offensive force. The review board assembled quickly. No press, no paperwork delay, just 1 closed-door session with internal command and a single-page decision memo. Mara was cleared. No charges, no reprimand, no incident logged under misconduct. But 2 things did happen.
The taller SEAL, Staff Sergeant Cole Hartman, was reassigned to non-operational support pending further evaluation, a quiet rotation off the core team. The younger one, Petty Officer Owen Bryce, was placed on administrative leave and recommended for pipeline removal, flagged under inappropriate conduct during operational embedment. No press release and no emails, just 2 quiet exits and 1 short email sent to Mara the next morning. Temporary rotation status. Your clearance has been updated to Tier 2 Autonomous Ops Compliance. Please report to Subsection 3 for Credential Recert Naval Systems Integration. No congratulations, no thank you, just clearance. And in the chain of command, that meant everything.
It wasn't announced. No bulletin, no message from command, no hush-hush whispers in the hallways. The change didn't come with ceremony or statements, but it was there. The next morning, Mara Fenwick walked into the main comms corridor to collect her updated equipment manifest. The tech sergeant at the desk, usually brisk, usually transactional, stood when he handed her the clipboard. Not much, just enough to be noticed. She nodded. He nodded back. No words exchanged. Later that day, she passed through the main motor pool access while 2 SEALs prepped gear for a coastal insertion drill. Neither one knew her, neither had been there, but they paused their loading just long enough to give her room to pass without being asked. That didn't happen before. Not because of disrespect, but because she hadn't existed in their world yet. Now, she did. At the end of her shift, Mara returned to Deck 4A. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to close out the relay sync log herself. She moved down the same narrow corridor, tool sheet in hand, satchel over her shoulder. Same boots, same calm posture, same silence. No one followed her this time. No one flanked her. The hallway felt the same, but it wasn't. Because she wasn't occupying space anymore. She owned it. As she reached the relay panel, she heard a faint step behind her. Just one. Turned halfway, saw Senior Chief Tolan, an older SEAL with a weather-beaten face and 2 decades of service visible in his posture. He didn't speak right away, didn't salute, didn't nod, just watched her finish logging the last status entry. When she turned to leave, he stepped forward. "You didn't teach them a lesson," he said, low and firm. Mara met his eyes. "No," she replied. "They wrote it themselves." He didn't argue, didn't praise her, just gave the faintest shake of his head, half rueful, half impressed. Then he turned and walked away. That was it. No medal, no memo, no extra stripe. Just space, just respect, earned without spectacle, held without sound. And when Mara walked that hallway again 2 days later, she didn't check her 6. She didn't need to, because no one stepped into her path again. Would you have waited that long before responding, or did Mara already show too much restraint? And when someone steps into your space like that, do you stand still or fold them before they blink? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe discipline should always outrank dominance, tap the like button. Hit subscribe to Military Stories and make sure the bell icon's turned on, because we share a brand new story like this every single day. Pass this one on to someone who still thinks quiet means weak. And when you're done, check out the other stories appearing on your screen right now. We'll see you tomorrow.